This is Tonight. I'm Bruce Whitfield. It's 2015, and I enjoyed talking to Jonathan Shapiro so much the last time we had him in studio. We got him back once again because I want to look ahead at 2015 and see whether or not what has happened in 2014, what themes are likely to continue, and whether or not we can learn anything from the past as to give us a forecast of what 2015 might look like. And what are the themes, Jonathan Shapiro, that you've brought through in so many of your books over the last 20 years as we look at the Zapiro cartoons as they've changed, as they've evolved? One of the common themes is one of broad disappointment in what democracy has given economically to so many South Africans.
Yeah, I think the cartoon that I think of all the time when I think of that is the one of a sort of a shack and a woman washing her clothes in a puddle, and the young guy who, interestingly, can read, he's got the newspaper. So there's a little element of optimism in that. But it says budget, and it was on budget day, and he's saying you'll be glad to know that according to the analysts, the economic fundamentals are in place.
Yeah.
And there's this,
that must be 10
as far
years
as the
old.
eye can see, that was it's about 2000 or 1999.
Yeah.
So that's more like, it's close to 1.5 decades old.
I mean, but that picture sticks in my mind so strongly. The skyline of Joburg is in the background. Yeah. I think she's sitting in front of a shack with a baby on her back, and she's scrubbing clothes in a muddy puddle.
Yeah.
And the kid is educated, better off than he might have been 10 years before, but she's no better off.
Yeah. And look, I think things have shifted in the sense that economically, that idea of sort of jobless growth, which was a real problem. I mean, I think it was a real problem that the ANC shifted from the Reconstruction and Development Program in 1996. I think symbolically and materially, it was really important to roll out social programs then. There was a period of 4, 5, 6 years where too little was done. And then when they kind of decided to get back into the social program and roll things out, and they certainly have done, by that time the economy was shifting and we didn't have enough money to handle things like so we've got a problem. We have a big problem in terms of balancing our books. But you are very critical of President Jacob Zuma, who has at various points threatened to sue, withdrawn charges against you because you have been outspoken on his questionable moral fibre, the rape allegations, the rape of Lady Justice with Gwede Mantashe and others holding down Lady Justice as the president unbuckles his trousers. He was quite cross about that one. Subsequent, of course, you provided the showerhead as an analogy following the rape allegations there, and the showerhead has at times been lifted slightly, but has always come and firmly settled back on the president's head. However, the Zuma administration has not been in AIDS denial. That's true.
It has ensured that the social wage has been paid.
Yep.
It has ensured that the poorest of the poor are possibly as well taken care of as they have been at any other point in the last 20 years. On that point, this administration has possibly succeeded. Ignore the macroeconomics and the fact that we don't have the money necessarily to do it, but they've been true to their word on that.
No, that is true, and that's sort of where would have been going as well. I mean, I agree with you about all of that. But while those things have been happening, they have been putting out signals, giving signals that are so wrong that they permeate right through society. The idea that corruption, as you say, is okay. That the idea that the man at the top can be just use nepotism and cronyism and surround himself with a cabal of people and use patronage and sort of almost endorse and encourage other people to be corrupt. That stuff, and you look at the ratings now of where we stand in Transparency International's corruption perception index. I mean, we are sliding. We're sliding, and those things are completely outrageous. And we're finding that I think we're on that tipping point at the moment in that respect, that people are starting inside and outside the country are starting to say that's one of those places where you can get by if you stroke somebody's back and you get in their pocket, in my pocket, and whatever. That's a terrible, terrible signal to give and to get.
You run the risk of being accused of being a pessimist. Yet one goes through your work and there's a tinge of, I think you bring as much humour as you can into your work. I mean, sometimes you point out the absurdity of situations, and sometimes you really do print some extraordinarily beautiful cartoons. I look at page 87 of your most recent book, just in case you didn't get it at Christmas, Zapiro's It's Code Red. And I look at page 87, and you've got two kids, a white kid and a black kid, sitting on a park bench with a beautifully dressed black woman next to them on a smartphone, and the kids are bemoaning the past and saying folks had it so tough. And you immediately think, oh, the apartheid, yep. Oh, no, it was really horrible. Yeah, they had no fun stuff. They had no PlayStation, no CGI effects. Life was so hard, and this black and white kid arm in arm. And that's great in a certain economic strata, I think, where you talk to a lot of people about the future of South Africa. Look, kids don't see race anymore. And you go, that's great if you're not growing up in a shack with your mum washing clothes in a puddle.
And, you know, and I appreciate all those kind of anomalies, and certainly you can't, essentially what I feel is that you can't make every point in every single cartoon.
No, you can't.
And what I love about the genre, the medium of cartooning, is the surprise element, because in that one you expect them to be talking about whatever it was, torture or something, or the past laws, and they're eventually talking about PlayStation and all these other, the technological differences. No cell phones. Well, how did they get by? No email. No this, that. And so it's a nice little surprise, and it sort of adds an element of perhaps optimism about saying, well, okay, maybe they're a little ahistorical, they don't really understand their history, but perhaps that's not a bad thing in every respect, and it gives a chance to just sort of move forward and kind of get on with things. You know, far be it for me to really say, I don't want to remember the history. I do. But, you know, I like those little just surprise moments that you can bring out in cartoons.
As a father of a 6-year-old, I relate so completely to that cartoon, because trying to explain to a 6-year-old that there was a time without the internet, there was a time where you had to sit at a phone on a party line and ask whether it was clear so that you could ring the phone to make a phone call. I'm dating myself. But it's beyond them. I know you don't like to look forward because you tend to reflect on what is happening, but one can't look at the past without, and I know you're not a student of history, you studied architecture at university, but history teaches us so much about what could happen in the future. And the comfort that the ANC has had, and some of that comfort was quite badly rattled, particularly in provincial elections in 2014, when we saw the results come out of Gauteng, where people had rebelled against e-tolls, where the Eastern Cape was interesting, the Western Cape saw the DA's position quite strongly consolidated. You came out after those elections and you talk about the ANC struggle legacy bank and how Jacob Zuma is still resting on the legacy of his predecessors. And that seems to suggest that we're going into a different phase. Next year, 2016's municipal elections already. Where do we go from here?
You know, I mean, I don't want to give the impression that I don't really look forward. Of course, a lot of cartooning is about two things. It's about the hypothetical and about hyperbole. Now, the hypothetical is the what if. What if the trend gets even more intense than it is now? And the hyperbole is the exaggeration for effect. So cartooning is a lot about looking forward. In that particular thing, I was saying, perhaps this is the last legacy election. And then I know that perhaps is an exaggeration, because probably there'll be at least another one after this that's also. But I had that little slip coming out and saying, you know, warning, credit extended only till 2019, that being for the general election. But as you say, the local government election is coming up sooner, in 2016, and I think it's clear to the ANC and it's clear to everyone else around them that even though you have this power base that Zuma has being consolidated in many respects, at other levels you're seeing cracks in those things, all in so many ways, from NUMSA, the split, and COSATU, potential big split in COSATU, to all sorts of there's huge numbers of social protests that are happening right across the country.
Absolutely.
So it's going to really knock the ANC in 2016.
And where Cope struggled for relevance, because Cope sort of was born out of a hissy fit, and then the hissy fit died a slow and painful death, and Mosiuoa Lekota is still peddling Cope on a much smaller, with far less support. Many people who were disappointed with the ANC's performance, dwindling performance, went towards the FF. Page 91, you talk about the populist winning 6% of the vote, but he's having a far bigger impact than the 6% of the vote. He's got a 1.3, 1.4 million votes in total, but having an extraordinary impact. And that's going to be one of the key themes as we go through 2015, depending on what happens, of course, with the SARS matter and whether or not he has to go and spend some time in jail for being dishonest on his taxes. There's a momentum being developed within the EFF which is changing the face of South African politics.
Yeah, very much so. I think that there must be ructions of all kinds. There must be pressure of all kinds to knock the complacency of the ruling party and the complacency at a national level and at provincial level and at municipal levels. So they have been the single most powerful factor in this. I mean, the DA has tried for a long, long time and has been certainly effective in the Western Cape, reasonably effective in Gauteng and perhaps a few other places, but they really haven't made the kind of inroads that you would have expected from a well-organized party which has, because they haven't been in government in many places, doesn't have a corruption issue. And yet the EFF has come in and made a massive impact in a short space of time, and has even got the DA to sort of coattail in behind them in Parliament.
Some people may say that you're anti-ANC, that you're critical of the ANC, you forget your struggle credentials and the work that you did, anti-apartheid work that you did. I say you're too tame, you're too sweet on the opposition. However, I go to page 93, and Helen Zille welcomed the Godzilla cartoon in 2006. She thought it was terribly funny. And you say she's now manifesting, in some cases, into that. Does she have much time left at the helm of the DA?
I'm not sure. I wouldn't want to make a prediction about that, but I do see trends that happen with other politicians happening with somebody like Helen Zille. I certainly like her, I respect her. I think she's somebody who has integrity. At the same time, she's got human failings, and one of the things is to try and take charge of too many things all at once. I think the fact that she hasn't loosened her hold on all those different things that she controls within the party and the province and all that, I think is a bit of a problem. And I think some of the young leaders in the DA, and sometimes some of the young black leaders, have been very frustrated by this, especially because she tried to parachute Mampele Rampele in from the Agang. Over their heads.
You have a go at Wonder Woman, not.
Yeah.
You most certainly do. She features.
So I think, sorry, just to say that the other thing about Helen is that she does unravel on social media.
Yeah.
And I've had a go at her on that stuff as well. And that's sort of personal foibles almost getting in the way of her very considered political standpoints.
Some people are best away from the emotion of social media. Let's wrap up then as we look at South Africa's legacy. We look at the last 20 years, of course, and this is book number 19 that we're referring to. The last page of this book is South Africa's Nobel laureates, and the beautiful sculptures in the V&A waterfront, to Luthuli and to Tutu and to de Klerk and to Mandela, and there is the president with his shower head firmly in place, urinating against the legacy.
We have the peace laureates and I'm afraid the piss laureate, and it's something that one has to say, and of course it refers not only to the fact that Zuma is not the right person to be leading, has not shown good leadership, but also our foreign policy is now firmly in the sway of the Chinese, and so the issues around the Dalai Lama.
There's the Dalai Lama in the background, of course.
Yeah, we've sort of kowtowed to China, and now we've got these kind of nuclear deals. We've got China and Russia and some very, very unkosher things happening on that score.
The only thing we can forecast about 2015 is there'll be no shortage of material.
There'll always be great material, and it's a very, very vibrant place to be a cartoonist. It's actually a fantastic place to be a cartoonist. And I'm not completely a pessimist. I actually really enjoy doing this stuff.
Absolutely right. Jonathan Shapiro, he is Zapiro to you and me. You'll see his columns, you'll read his columns, you'll absorb his columns across multiple media channels in South Africa. Thank you so much, Jonathan Shapiro, for giving us your time once again here on Tonight with Bruce Whitfield as we attempt to look forward to what's going to be a challenging year in 2015. Happy New Year, by the way.